stock intake manifolds are designed for smoothness of acceleration, good auto quality, good vacuum quality, and sound. That's the way they were designed, okay, from the factory. Okay, so we're going to talk about RPM range, all right? The RPM range in a stock cast iron manifold that came from the factory back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, those things, the RPM range was idle, and this is cast iron, was idle, no matter what it was, to about 5,000 RPMs. And that was your power band. And it would run smooth all the way up to, then once you hit about 5,000 RPMs, it would fall off on its nose, because that's the limit of its range. Okay. And if you're on the street, you know, back in the day, that was a really good, you know, it's idled good. It was smooth. You put a pop can on the breather. It was nice. Okay. But it wasn't very efficient. Okay. As we all know, an engine is just a big air pump. So if you can make it flow better in, that's going to make more power. Okay. So your first range is going to be something like Edelbrock Performer, whether it's a spread bore or whether it's a square bore from the factory. But just a first step entry level intake manifold is a good performer. Okay. Hey, if you're watching, smash that like button. Okay. And all of them have, all the companies have one of these. Okay. And it's a split plenum. So it splits it in half, and it feeds half on one side of the carburetor and half on the other side of the carburetor for a 4-barrel. It just kind of crosses them over. And it's good for low end use. Okay. So a performer style a dual plane is going to run good from idle to about 5,500 RPMs. And forgive my penmanship, I'm terrible. I'm old school, right? I'm lucky enough to be able to see those letters. But okay, so that's your first step. So you're going to gain another 500, 600 RPMs over the top. Okay, it's still going to be pulling as you go. All right, still have good auto quality, not as good auto quality as the cast iron, because you give up a little bit on the bottom end, but it's negligible. Okay, it's really not noticeable when you do the swap on your car, which I've done that particular swap many times. Okay, and the pickup truck here, Bamalam, it has a dual plenum performer on it. It's what came on it, and so that's what I'm using. And it's a good engine. They haven't really changed the design in 50 years. You know, I mean, it's kind of hard to beat something that works. Okay, so there's no reason to change up something that already works. All right, but then in the late 80s, Edelbrock came out with a air gap style, which lets airflow underneath the plenum, raises it up, and makes more power and helps cool the incoming air fuel charge, which does it. The colder that you can make it, the less heat that can soak into that intake manifold, the more the better the fuel dispersion and the more efficient it is. Okay, so we're going to go with the next one is air gap. And again, everybody makes one of these. All the companies make one of these, air gap. And the air gap is going to be 1,500 to about 6,000 RPMs. All right. That's the trade-off. Okay. Maybe 65. Well, okay. We'll call that 65. 6,500 RPMs. Okay. So are you getting the kind of idea? The 5,000 RPM band? You're getting kind of the idea? Okay. So idle to 5,000, idle to 5,500, 1,500 to 6,500. Okay. Which if you're running, you know, double duty, running on the street, and running on the strip and running a big cam, then you're probably going to want to go with air gap. Okay. and they're not bad intakes. I've had them too. You know, those are definitely, when you swap them from, like, say, the cast iron, you go straight to an air gap, you're going to notice it on idle. You're going to notice it as taking off, because it's going to be cumbersome. It's not going to be crisp. It's not going to be clean. It's going to be you're going to have to, do things with the carburetor to get to work. There are going to be drawbacks to going that high of a RPM range on the top end. Now, once you get past that and you're cruising, then it comes on like gangbusters, and it really works well. Okay. But again, if you want nice cruisability, idle quality, this would be the way to go. But if you want to let something a little bit hotter, then we'll go with the air gap. All right. The next one we're going to talk about is an open plenum. And my preference, they make them. Holley makes them. Edelbrock makes them. Victor Juniors. But my favorite has always been YNs. YN Team Gs have been my go-to for 40 years. Okay. Did you guys know we have Thursday Night Lives every Thursday, 8 o'clock Central? We have a lot of fun. We have talks like this. Go check it out. Okay. So we're going to do open plenum. And again, like I said, they all make these. All the manufacturers make this type of intake. Okay. Even the Chinese ones, which I do not recommend. Okay. Because the fitment and everything, they're just hacks of, of the old designs, and they just make them cheap, which they're cheap and they fit that way. Okay. So an open plenum is going to be worth, this is a harsh one, 2,800 to, let me see, if I'm remembering this right, 7,200 RPMs. Again, we're right back to that 5,000-ish envelope. Okay. Now this one's not going to idle good at all. But if you have a light car and you have, say, a 3,000 RPM stall in it, and you have a nice big carburetor, which this is going to take a lot of carburetor to fill that volume up to get enough when you're taking off, and you're foot stomping it, this would be the way to go. Okay. If you're running on the street, I don't recommend this on the street. I have ran them on the street and it was not fun. Okay. You're always tuning. You can't quite get the idle mixture right. It's hit and miss. It's going to be boggy off the bottom, but once you get into that RPM range, it's going to come on like gangbusters. Okay. But this one right here, I would consider it strictly a drag strip type intake. Okay. I wouldn't recommend running one of those on the street because you're not going to have good idle signal. It's not going to have good disbursement between the cylinders unless you get up in RPM range and you're singing. That's when they really work. If you got one that'll sing up to 7,000 RPMs and you're going to the drag strip with on a regular basis, this is your way to go. This is the way to go. This is the key to it. Okay. Now, the last one, and this one surprised me because I never really looked it up. And I've had several of these on street cars. Okay. And they always seem to work. They're not supposed to work, but they always seem to work. And we're talking about tunnel rams. Okay. And far as I know, there's only, unless you want to go, spend big money, the only two companies that are still making these is YNs and Edelbrock. Okay. You can still get some old classic Holley ones, but YNs and Edelbrock, you can buy a new one. Okay. And they run, and this one surprised me, they run 1,500 to 8,000 RPM range. And once I looked it up, it explained everything to me because I have run a couple of small blocks and a big block on a tunnel ram with 2 4s, and they seem to idle better than the Team Gs. And that would explain why. I don't get that number. I don't see how it works, but that is from the book, from the company. I looked it up on both their websites. From the company, that's the RPM range that a tunnel ram with 2 450s or 2 600s on it, that's RPM range. Which it was always easier for me to tune the idle and to come off the line a little better and just drivability. You wouldn't think that a tunnel ram would be more docile on the street than it actually is. But I've done it. And I'm going to, you guys might not believe me, but it's true, and that explains why. It's because it's got that huge RPM range. And again, tunnel ram, especially on a big block. Now, all these are small blocks, especially on a big block, though. The tunnel ram was righteous. Okay. I had a 3,000 RPM stall, 373 gears, 3,600 pound car with a tunnel ram on it with two 450s. Not vacuum secondary, they were all in 450s. Okay. So 900 CFM, off idle. I had to put big squirters in it. I had to put 50cc squirters on both those 400s to get enough gas once you slammed it open that there wasn't a big hole. And I had to play with the power valves and stuff too. But that car was much more, what's a good word? That car was much more fun to drive with the tunnel ram than it was with the Team G, which I put on after the fact. Because I just thought I was overdoing it, because I couldn't get at the time, I didn't have the money and I was running a stock fuel pump, and that thing would run out of gas in the bowls about half run. And then it would just nose on its face. And you could watch the fuel pressure gauge on it just dump to nothing. And then after a couple of pumps, after you're off of it, it filled the bowls back up and it came back on. It was completely aggravating. So that's why I decided to go with a single carburetor, because I was going to go bracket racing. And decided to go with the single carburetor and the Team G. And it was completely noticeable, the difference idle quality at 1,000 RPMs. It was completely noticeable. It was a completely different engine on idle, but it's all kind of what you're into. Okay. So going off this, how would I, if it was me, how would I set up the next one? Okay, so we got all this. We got our RPM ranges. So there's considerations to everything. All right, there are. It's engine weight, rear end gear ratio, stall in the transmission, size of engine, compression ratio of engine. All kinds of things are involved. Let's say we're talking about just a stock replacement car. Okay, so a stock replacement like this truck. Okay, it's going to weigh about 4,000 pounds, 4K pounds. All right, it's got a 310 or a 333 rear end in it, and a stock transmission. Okay, no, nothing special, right? So with that, yeah, I want better idle quality. I want better torque out of the back end. I want better things. So I would be going with the Performer. For the RPM, which is what it's on it. That's why I kept it on it. Okay. Now, if I was going to do double duty in the same truck, I'd probably go with the air gap. All right. I'd probably go with the air gap if I was going to go street and strip. If I was going to do double duty with it and push on it, I'd probably go with the air gap instead of the Team G, because the Team G is just unmanageable to 3,000 RPMs. Okay. Now, other consideration. Say you have a car that weighs 3,400 pounds and you're dealing with a standard transmission, a 4 or 5 speed standard transmission with a 373 gear ratio. Posi. You got a couple choices. For fun, for just drivability, everything, you go air gap, because you're going to be revving it coming off that clutch, right? So the air gap would be one of these, or for fun, tunnel ram. And I'll tell you why. Same thing. You're 1,500 to 8,000 RPMs. You're doing you got a 373 gear ratio with a light car. You don't have to have a lot of horsepower, a lot of torque on the bottom end to get it moving, because that 4 and 5 speed is going to handle that for you, because you're going to be revving it up and dumping the clutch. You're not in that range, RPM range of idle. You're going to be in that RPM range of 1500 and up. Okay, so there are different things to think about. Okay, big block on the street is going to rip tires apart. You ain't going to get traction. Then you're dealing with the same kind of thing. You're trying to tone it down on the off idle, and get all your power in once you're moving. Okay, same thing. We'll say 3,800 pound car, right, with a big block. With, we'll say, 355 gears. Nice in between highway and street run around. All right. So 3,800 pounds, big block with an automatic. We'll say with an automatic. I would say air gap with that, because it's going to have so much torque because of the size of the engine that it's just going to rip tires off of it. You're just going to be going up in smoke. Even if you're a posi, it's just going to be you're going to be ripping tires up. So you want to soften it off of idle and then bring it on later. And a stock valve train on a big block isn't going to handle anything above 6,500 RPMs. It's just not. I did it on mine, but I had done a little work on it. But my average was, 2,500 to 5,700 going across the stripe. I had it geared right. It would do it all day long. Did it for 6 years and never turned a wrench on it. It was great. Okay. But comment down below if you think that I'm just wrong, which I get a lot of that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm just an old guy that's played with this stuff for 40 years. I'm not a wizard. I'm not a guru. This is just the things that I've done. And this is the things that I've learned through trial and error, and a lot of error, of how to make things work better for yourself and have more fun with your hot rod. Okay. And your classic, just have more fun. That's what this is all about. This is not max horsepower. This is not technical. This is, let me put something on and have some fun to make it run better, to say, I've done it with these two hands and I'm making it run better. Okay. But, and this is just me because I've done it several times. 2 4-barrel carburetors sticking out of the hood of a tunnel ram doesn't get any cooler than that. That's the stuff that gets everybody to stop and talk to you at the car show, or on the side of the road, or at the bar, or at the wherever you're going to, at the gas station. Everybody's going to see that, and everybody's going to come over and talk about it. That's going to, a tunnel ram sticking out of the hood will get attention. Okay. Basically anything sticking out of the hood is going to get attention, but there's some coolness factor about a tunnel ram. You just look at it and go, it's guttural. It just brings that dude out in you, So like I said, just comment down below. You ain't going to hurt my feelings. I'm a grown old man. You can talk trash about me all you want. I don't care. Doesn't bother me a bit. That's what this is all about. It's just about having a conversation about what could be fun. I think a tunnel ram may be in my future. May not be the soon future, but I'm going to have me another one. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions, and other guys will be on here answering questions too. You guys are really coming on strong. I really appreciate all you guys helping other guys out in the comments. That's cool. That's really cool. Answering questions in the comments. That's cool. I highly, but be nice. Okay. If you're not nice, you're gone. Okay. That's just it. This is all about the love of the game. And the game is hot rodding. If you're still here, like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends. Hit that button, that bell that tells you when I put a new one out. Y'all have a great day. Because great day today could be a tunnel ram in the future, maybe. Ooh. Y'all be good.